Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Tomatolito Show. And what a weekend we have upon us here. It all began last night with Bellator MMA holding their big event, their last large headlining event of 2020, where we saw Velasquez decision McFarlane and give Elina Lea her first defeat of her career. Velasquez took her titles, and it was an interesting matchup. Took about 2 rounds for the action to get going, but from there it was back and forth the rest of the way. Good matchup, good closing show for Bellator MMA, and a great way to go out in this 2020 to put 2020 to a close for them. They kicked off the weekend and got the engines revved up for all the fight fans. Today, we had the big news of the weigh-in, and where you saw, if you guys tuned into that weigh-in, you could actually catch clips on YouTube, I'm sure, or Sky Sports, and it's all over the place, right? Because we haven't seen Joshua exchange words like this, except with Gerald Miller, comes to mind when that fight was supposed to take place. Other than that, Anthony Joshua has always been kind of calm. It's been one of his criticisms dating up to the Andy Ruiz loss, where he was almost kind of robotic, kind of monotone. After that loss, something changed in him, and after he defeated Andy Ruiz a year ago and got all his titles back, that confidence this year, 2020, has been the year for Anthony Joshua, in a sense in which he found himself. He's been a lot more personable, throughout interviews. He's joking around. He's doing a multitude of interviews now and all kinds of shows that he's been appearing on and doing all kinds of, appearances as well. A lot more personable. We get to know a little bit more about Anthony Joshua, how he behaves, how he acts, who he is as a person, and not just this big, robot machine in the heavyweight division. So it's been an eye opener, and it's been pleasant to see Anthony Joshua come out and break out of his shell. And then we get this weigh-in today, and Kubrat Pulev starts getting under his skin. Anthony Joshua is always fairly calm, fairly collected. This guy got under his skin, and they start exchanging barbs, and they start exchanging words. And so you got the comments going back and forth. Kubrat Pulev telling him that he basically knows what he's got and how he's going to be able to stop him, that he's going to put an end to Anthony Joshua tomorrow. There's 4 titles on the line tomorrow, and so that's going to be the WBA, the Super World Heavyweight title, the WBAs, the IBF, the WBO. So 3 of the major sanctioning bodies titles are on the line, which Anthony Joshua has claim to at the moment. And then the IBO is the other title that's on there. And the IBO we talked about in one of the previous episodes. So check that one out so you could find out a little bit more about who the IBO is and how they go about their rankings. Listen, live fight. This is a good heavyweight fight where you don't have a crossroads fighter trying to make a name for himself, or a tomato can, as they call, of an opponent for the headliner. This is a awesome fight that we're going to see, in another great name for both of their resumes. How is this going to turn out? Let's take a look at what we got here. We got Kubrat Pulev with a 28 wins, 1 defeat, 14 knockouts out of those 28 wins. So 14 of those victories have come by way of knockout. He is 39 years old, so he's the older of the two. Anthony Joshua is currently 31. The last few fights that Kubrat Pulev has had that I would say are notable, I would say Sam Peter back in 2016 is one of the bigger names that he took on. Huey Fury. That's another notable name. That was 2 years later, 2018. Bogdan Dinu was another KO win, big win for Kubrat Pulev. And then Rydell Booker's one of the, another prospect, another up and comer in the heavyweight division, and who's making noise. Kubrat Pulev has a win over him. His sole defeat, and this is one of the hidden storylines of the fight, where Kubrat Pulev's sole defeat, his only loss to his record right now, is attributed to Vladimir Klitschko. He lost to Vlad Klitschko. And now, during that fight, as Klitschko was preparing for Kubrat Pulev, none other than Anthony Joshua sparred against Klitschko in preparation for Kubrat Pulev. So That's a hidden storyline there where Anthony Joshua feels like he's got a leg up on this matchup, and he knows Kubrat Pulev. At least he prepared for Kubrat Pulev once before. So he feels like he's got a leg up on him. Remember, this matchup was supposed to take place a few years ago, 2017, if I recall, and it never materialized. So here we go. Kubrat Pulev, of course, older now at 39, 8-year difference between the two. Nonetheless, he's got good power. I think he's a little bit slower. Definitely the slower puncher of the two. Got good power behind him. He's slightly shorter, so he gives up some inches in reach, gives up some inches in height. And he's got the power to back him up, right? A heavyweight division, one punch can change the outcome of a fight in a split second. And Kubrat Pulev has that power. So only defeat that he has attributed to his career right now, or the asterisk to his career right now, is a defeat to Vladimir Klitschko. 28 wins, no draws, 14 knockouts. We jump over to the champ. And the champ, the last time we saw him was approximately a year ago. Actually, pretty much close to the date, a year ago, where he ends up defeating Andy Ruiz, takes his titles back last December. I think it was December 7th, if I recall correctly. Defeats Andy Ruiz in what was one of the most hyped rematches of heavyweight history, and in the heavyweight division. So back-to-back fights with Andy Ruiz. He had that famous loss, and it got headlines everywhere. Andy Ruiz was all over the shows, all over mainstream media. The coverage was crazy because he had dethroned the man, and he became the man at that time. So Andy Ruiz we were waiting for Andy Ruiz to come back this December. Doesn't look like it happened. I haven't seen any other news as to when he's supposed to step back in the ring. We know he's training with Canelo and Canelo's team, with the Reynoso team. Nonetheless, no other news on Andy Ruiz. So Anthony Joshua coming off of those back-to-back fights with Andy Ruiz and got his titles back last December. Both fighters, Kubrat Pulev has been out of the ring since last November, so coming into this fight tomorrow night with a 13-month layoff, and Anthony Joshua with a 12-month layoff. So very similar in activity on behalf of both, but both of them look good. Both of them looked like they were in shape. Anthony Joshua had a pound, give or take an ounce or so. He had a full pound or a solid pound over Kubrat Pulev. Both of them look good. Both of them look in shape and solid. Who else? Before Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua had defeated Alexander Povetkin by TKO. He defeated Joseph Parker, Carlos Takam, and of course the famous big sellout headlining event against Vladimir Klitschko dating back to 2017. Anthony Joshua is just basically amassing names, right? He's adding names and to that resume and making that resume look even better every fight. It's gonna be a good fight. This is what you expect in a headlining heavyweight fight. There's not a real underdog here. Although you see the deficiencies in style and you start breaking apart the styles, I think the speed of Anthony Joshua, as related to his footwork, I think the speed in the way in which he releases his hands, and the power is going to be the factor here come tomorrow. I do see Anthony Joshua pulling off a victory over Kubrat Pulev, handing Kubrat Pulev his second defeat of his career. I see Anthony Joshua moving on to bigger fights come 2021. And I really think he shouldn't have much trouble. I think this is going to stop anywhere between or anywhere around the middle rounds of the fight. I don't see this fight going all the way. Nonetheless, they're hyping it up very well. Anthony Joshua brings to the table 23 wins. 21 of those 23 wins by way of knockout. His sole defeat, as we just spoke, was a year and a half ago to Andy Ruiz. And of course, he avenged that loss and got his titles back. He's come a long way. That Andy Ruiz was possibly one of the best things that could have happened to him, that defeat, where it seemed to have brought out the monster in him again. It seemed to have humbled him and brought out a good style of boxing. Awesome things that we're seeing from Anthony Joshua right now. If he pulls this off in an impressive fashion tomorrow night, it's going to be groundbreaking for him. And you know that we're bound to see him against Tyson. Tyson Fury, of course. Maybe we'll get to see him against Luis Ortiz early in the year and then a big fight. But listen, if we get Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua, then we get Wilder, or we get a third fight, the tiebreaker with Andy Ruiz after Andy Ruiz has a comeback fight. It's going to be a money-making year for Anthony Joshua, headlining event after headlining event. It should be a great year. It doesn't sound like I'm giving Pulev a lot of a chance. I just don't see his style being very effective against Anthony Joshua. Of course, what's the one thing that we love in boxing is an upset, right? The underdog story, the upset. So he's definitely talking the game. He's talking the part right now. Let's hope he performs as such come tomorrow. What else is happening tomorrow? As I said, big fight weekend. This is possibly the biggest thing going on tomorrow. Now, on the MMA side, you have UFC 256, which is the final pay-per-view event of the UFC to close out their 2020. They still have a fight night set for the following week, for the 19th. So it's not the last event that they're putting on, but it's the last pay-per-view card for the UFC this year to close out 2020. Bellator put out their big event on Thursday night. And what else is going on in boxing? Aside from Joshua, we have Shakur Stevenson, who's going to be facing Toka Khan Clary. Remember, tomorrow night on the 12th, we were supposed to see Burchelt versus Valdez, right? And that fight ended up falling through. Burchelt ended up getting testing positive for COVID. Valdez stayed without an opponent, and Shakur Stevenson tried to move in and fight Valdez. That fight didn't materialize, so Shakur Stevenson ended up taking over the date, and Toka Khan Clary moved in from a quick turnaround. He had a fight back in October to close out October, a TKO victory over Jonathan Perez. And now he's right back into a big headlining event against Shakur Stevenson, who, of course, is the up-and-coming star in the featherweight and super featherweight divisions. 14-0, 8 of those victories by way of knockout on behalf of Shakur Stevenson. And Toka Khan Clary brings a 28-2 record with 19 of those victories by way of knockout. This is a big step up in competition for Shakur Stevenson. If he makes easy work of Clary, then the sky's the limit for him, right? I know I keep saying it, but all these guys that we're talking about, I mean, Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford, these last few months, the fight game has been at an all-time max, and boxing has been at an all-time good spot. To me, they've been experiencing, the boxing game has experienced a really, really good time in its history, and a lot of good fights that we've been lucky to get these last few months. So Shakur Stevenson is your other event. That should be on ESPN. Joshua Pulev should be on Sky Sports box office, if I recall correctly. I hope I don't give you the wrong info, but they should be on Sky Sports, so check out your local listings. And then also DAZN. If you can't get it on Sky Sports or you don't have it available in your area, Shakur Stevenson should be on ESPN, the UFC on pay-per-view, and hey, get ready. It's going to be an awesome Saturday of fights for the fight fan. Perfect way to enjoy a Saturday. Perfect way to chill and just hang back and have some good company around you and enjoy a full day of fights. And we win, right? The fight fans win. Other than that, I'll keep bringing some other episodes for you. I'll be on the road here in the next few days, but I'll still be recording while I'm on the road, and I'll be pushing out some more episodes here for you in the coming days. I'll most likely be on the road when I do that, the recap show, but nonetheless, you can expect that here either tomorrow night or Sunday morning. And hey, enjoy the fights, guys. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Talk to you all soon.